What's up,
20s?
It's me, Alfonso.
And Yanka.
And we're back for the second episode.
Yeah. I'm really excited to be here. Today's topic is life after college. And
yes,
it's a huge topic to explore. But we're going to start slowly. And maybe in other episodes we can dig deep into like certain categories. But we're going to share a little bit of our stories and things that we did right after school. And hopefully, other people are listening and are learning from us.
And like you said, it's a really broad topic and there's a lot to say about it. And since our episode today is life after college, I think for listeners out there and for whoever's watching on the channels, it's going to be literal. Like, what was our life like after college?
Yeah.
You know? And I guess we can jump into the basics.
Yes.
Which is where we went to college, blah, blah, blah.
Great. Yeah. Alfonso will lead a little bit of the conversation only because, and you guys will learn this about myself, I tend to overthink and I make lists and I like bullet points and I like checking things off. And so that's exactly what I have in front of me. But I'm trying not to look down and just have a conversation because I have so much to say about this topic that I don't want to get carried away. So anyway, Alfonso.
It's all good. It's chill.
It's chill, yeah. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
It's one of those days.
Life after college.
Yes.
I graduated in May 2019 from Emerson College, BFA in Visual and Media Arts Production, concentration in screenwriting. I'm a writer. Yeah, that's my college background.
Cool. And I went to Massachusetts College of Art and Design, aka Mass Art, over in Huntington Ave in Boston. And I graduated in the middle of the pandemic. So I was one of those Zoom University graduates in 2020. And major. I also graduated with a BFA with a concentration in photography, but I was also doing a lot of filmmaking. I just didn't have the option to double major, unfortunately, but I wish that was an option when I was in school.
I never realized we were both BFA hosts.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how.
We're really out here.
We are. It's honestly such a great major, too.
Yeah.
And degree, because you can do so much with a degree in fine arts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so much you can tackle on.
Yeah.
Professionally anyway. So yeah.
Right.
That's a little bit about me.
So that's our college background. And now we're going to get into literally what our lives were like that summer, right after college.
Yes.
Well, we both graduated in different years. So for me, the summer of 2019, I had to make sure that I at least traveled, like those post-grad trips, whatever, soul searching, looking for your purpose. So I went to Thailand with my best friend.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, we soul searched together. And I actually applied for CCTV for this job.
In Thailand?
While I was in the swimming pool.
No
applying
way.
on my laptop. And I was like, oh, this sounds like a great job. And it was a decent offer for a post-grad career. So I was like, let me apply to this.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Awesome. How did you find the job?
It was on Handshake.
Oh, okay.
Those like college, third-party services.
Yeah. Awesome.
What about you?
My summer was a little different because I guess, for one, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It was like very much the beginning of what it is now. Yeah. And that was the time where everybody was like freaking out over COVID.
Yeah.
People should still be freaking out over COVID. But at the time, there was no vaccines and, the mask mandates. And we had just gotten out of quarantine, I think.
Yeah.
I think they started opening things back up in the beginning of May of 2020. And I graduated at the end of May. So it was a weird summer. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life because it's a pandemic and
that was a really tough year.
Yeah, it was like a lot of questions that were left unanswered, honestly, and I still come back to these questions and ask myself again and again.
I feel that,
like, what would I have done differently and why not? But anyway, that summer I can talk a little bit about my background at CCTV at some point, but I've been involved at CCTV, which is where we work, since I was 14 years old. And I was doing little jobs like front desk receptionist. I was part of the youth media program. I was doing like volunteer work. And so every summer I had a job lined up at CCTV as a teaching artist for the Summer Media Institute program that we have, like an 8-week long intensive filmmaking program for high school students. So that was like, I guess the only good thing about that summer for me is that I had this lined up. So I wasn't like completely unemployed. Anyway, come July, and I came to CCTV, did the work, and after July, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. It was still the pandemic, very much so, and so I got a position, or I got offered a position at another.
Like a full-time.
It was a part-time position.
To the other place.
To another place. Yeah. I got offered this position through networking. We can touch upon networking because it's like, I guess, the only thing that I really took away from college was how important networking is.
I have opinions about networking.
You do?
Yeah.
I have good opinions, I would say. But it'll be interesting because I'm like more of an extrovert and you're more introverted. So like our opinions.
So you probably know what my opinion is about networking.
But anyway, I'm going down the rabbit hole, but I got a part-time job, and that summer I was like just hustling and like making ends meet, as they say. Just figuring myself out a little. Not in Thailand, that's for sure. I was very much at home in Somerville, soul searching in my bedroom. But
your bedroom. Yeah, I definitely broke my wallet for that trip.
And it helped. I mean, that's how you got this job,
It did. And I was in college for 4 years, and like it was just a lot. So I just wanted to treat myself.
Good.
And I just like traveling in general. So it was like a nice post-grad, like relax while applying to so many jobs.
Honestly, I might want to get into that. Like next time I apply for a job, just go on a trip and apply.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
From the swimming pool or from the beach. Like
from a resort.
But that makes sense. Like, not to get too deep into that, but
yeah.
You're like in a relaxed environment, and you're not thinking about home and all the responsibilities because you're not surrounded by that environment. So it's actually a really, really good thing to do, in my opinion, like to apply to places outside of your comfort zone.
Now that you pointed that out, I think that was definitely helpful.
Yeah.
Even in like making the decision to like,
that's true.
Go to the interviews especially for this job. And I think it's the environment. Like you've been vacationing for so long, you're rejuvenated, and now you're ready to go back. Like, let's do this.
I love that. You might have just started something just now.
Yeah. So if you ever decide to move on,
go to Thailand and
go on a trip. Like like go to if you don't want to go outside the country, like go to Vermont or something.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly, change of environment makes the most like difference.
Yeah. I think it clears your mind and helps you to like make the right decision.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about traveling.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely had different summers, but
but now I guess we can talk about our jobs.
Sure.
Like our first ever job post grad. I think this is our first full-time job.
Yeah.
Off college, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I had at some point in 2020, I had 5 jobs. I was working 5 jobs every week. I don't know how I did that. Like,
hustler.
Looking back, I'm like, Jesus. But it was kind of fun because you're not like stuck in one environment.
Right.
For 40 hours a week. And that's very much how I saw like the world after school was like 9 to 5 and being in this, capitalist society. But CCTV definitely changed that for me, like the way that I view this 9 to 5.
Yeah. Format.
What's the word? Format. Yeah. Anyway, I had 5 part-time jobs, and then I got offered. I was lucky enough to get offered this position at CCTV.
And you were an amazing addition to the staff.
Thank you. Solely because, again, this could be a topic for another episode, but networking and staying places that you truly care about. Like
Mhm.
as a teenager, when I was 14, when I started at CCTV, I really fell in love with the space and fell in love with the people that worked here. And so I stuck around for many years.
Mhm.
And I was lucky enough to be trusted. And so I was offered the position. I didn't even have to, like, quote unquote, work for it. Obviously, I have to work on, for it. And I'm still working for this. But I was offered the position in February of last year. So my 1 year anniversary is coming up.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We should get that lemon meringue pie from Flower Bakery.
We should.
For that.
And FYI, guys, if you're in the Cambridge area, or is there a flour bakery in other places?
There are other flour bakeries, I think.
Anyways, lemon meringue pie, just get hip because it's so good.
I might get it after this.
Yeah, that's our treat to ourselves all the time.
Yeah. But anyway, to my job,
yes,
this is my first full-time job. I applied for the programming coordinator position here at CCTV, and I was fortunate enough to get it and get the offer right after graduating college. So I'm really grateful for that smooth transition. But after getting that job, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I moved back home with my parents in the suburbs. Yeah. So I would commute into the city to get to our workplace. Yeah. And that was a decision that I consciously made. I weighed the pros and cons of staying at home and not paying rent. And so I was willing to sacrifice my freedom and privacy living at home just so I can save a lot of money. Yeah. And by doing that, I was able to do whatever I want. I was able to travel. I'm able to travel wherever I want and visit friends, and also be a little reckless with like shallow things like sneakers. Like, I think the first 6 months that I worked here at CCTV, I was not saving actually. I was just so excited with the paychecks because it was my first time having real paychecks from like, salary. And I was just, oh my God, I was going off on like shoes and clothes and like.
But that's normal, like I don't like the idea that people, and this is the way we were raised and living in America. This is what they tell you, is that you work a 9 to 5 and you pay rent, and you're paying way more than you can afford most times for rent. And you just make ends meet, and you can't enjoy your life. Like, you have to save, investment. But it's like, in reality, it's okay to spend money on yourself. Obviously, not recklessly. I was very much that person too until recently, and I can't anymore because of the circumstances in my life. But it's okay. Like, if anyone's listening and is in that stage where you're spending money and not saving, and you're constantly comparing yourself to people who are saving and like having a successful career or whatever it may be, it's okay. Like, everybody has their own journey, and like, you learn, you learn, you live and you learn, literally. As corny as that sounds, but
no, it's true.
Yeah.
And also, like, I just want to mention like the stigma that people look down upon people in their 20s who move back home and live in their like parents' basement, or they just live back with their family. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think you need to be comfortable before you move out on your own, because that's a huge thing, you know. And if you're not ready, you're not ready. Like, you can't. I didn't want to force it because I didn't have savings right after graduating, literally none. So I was like, okay, my best option is to move back home while having this job. And it was, it was a smart decision, I think. But it definitely gets exhausting. Like, my mental health definitely deteriorated, mainly because of the lack of freedom and privacy, and just being near like things like, like bars and like.
Because you have a unique situation where you live in, like, the suburbs.
So I have to commute into the city if I want to do things.
That's a lot.
But you've had your own apartment.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have a much different upbringing in that sense than
Uh-huh.
Alfonso, because I tend to just talk too much about one thing, so I'll make this brief. But I have been living like on my own,
Yeah.
without my parents, that is, with roommates or my brother for a long time.
Right.
Since I had just turned 18, like at the end of high school. So I was used to that like lifestyle of being independent and like, you know, being cautious with bill payments and things like that. So during college, I was also doing that. I dormed for a year, and it wasn't great. Didn't love it. But I guess, you know, I did it. So it was more for the experience.
Right.
Still paying the price, literally, because student loans.
Oh my God, me
because
too.
of the dorms mostly. But anyway, I was living in this apartment that was my childhood home with sometimes strangers. Like I was finding people on Facebook. For a long time, I did Airbnb to just make rent. When my brother moved out, I was like really struggling financially. Found different people. Then eventually, one of my best friends moved in with me.
Yeah.
And we were roommates up until recently. And I moved out on my own 2 months ago, just a little over 2 months ago. So yeah, it took me a while to get to where I am. But to go back on the stigma of moving back with your parents, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I have so many friends that they're doing the exact same thing, and who, you know, like you said, mental health is being affected, but pros and cons, you know, like my mental health isn't great living alone either. So like, obviously that's person, you know, different person.
There are really pros
stories.
and cons.
Yeah. Anyways, I am totally for that. And if I had that support, like, that's one thing that when you were saying that, I was thinking, like, if you have the support at your household, like if you have a family that can provide that for you, please take advantage of that. Like, I didn't have that privilege. My mom had to move out. A lot of my family members are in Brazil, so I had to hustle and like
I see
to get to where I am, and like I have no choice but to live on my own for the rest of my life. Like, it was just the way that I was brought into this world, I guess, of like independency. But yeah, if people have the opportunity to move back with their parents, their grandmas, their uncles or whatever, do that. Save money
until you're ready.
Like, obviously finance is a huge it's a huge thing, and people should take that in consideration, like you did, like you've been able to save. But also, like, just not, you know, taking it slow, not rushing into things, because it can get overwhelming. Like, take it from me, it can get really overwhelming, and then in the long run it will affect your mental health. So it's like, all this to say that if you have the opportunity to do it,
to live alone, right? Be independent.
No, to live with your family.
Oh, to live with your family. Yeah.
But but then there's like so many great things that come with living alone.
Yes,
it's
talk about that, because I know, like, I would love to have your apartment. Guys, it looks so nice. If only you can see. But
oh, thank you. How nice. Yeah. I guess the biggest pro in living alone, in my humble opinion, is the sense of freedom. Yeah. I've considered myself to always like have freedom. Even when I was a teenager, I had parents who were pretty laid back, and I did a lot of illegal things and definitely snuck out the house many times. But
oh my God, me too.
Yeah, it's like part of being a teenager, I guess. Right. But I was lucky to have a mom who trusted me, and despite many things that I did that were illegal, she still like trusted me. I don't know why I'm talking about high school, but freedom and like just feeling accomplished, like as an adult, and that's like the best feeling. And like buying your own things, you don't have to like let anybody know where you're doing or why you're doing it. Right. It's my money.
And being near things, you're literally in a great part.
Yeah. I was lucky because I grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, so I was already like near Boston, and Cambridge itself is like a huge city with lots of opportunities. So I was sort of like near all the time, but living alone, like you can leave your house at 2 a.m. and not have to let anybody know, you know, like, but yourself, obviously.
So there's a lot of perks for
but here are the cons.
Oh, let me spill the cons.
biggest thing is finances. Like you're giving up saving money pretty much. Like if you're smart enough and if you make enough, you'll be able to save money, obviously. And if and when I say smart enough is like with your decisions, like your personal decisions.
Right.
If you don't want to have a really expensive sneaker collection like myself, you know, that's a lot of money that you're saving. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, finances, paying rent, and then have that sense of responsibility, like bills, everything's under your name. And if something breaks, that's on you. You have to figure that out, you know?
Yeah.
You can't call your dad or your mom and be like, what do I mean, you could, I guess, but they're not there in the present moment with you.
So you have to handle it on your own first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's something beautiful about that too, because you feel so accomplished.
You learn, you learn. You're like an actual adult living on your own.
If I had to say, like, there's more pros than cons, honestly. If it wasn't for
absolutely,
finances, like, the idea of money to me in, like, this capitalist society really irks me. Like, it gets me really upset. But there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, maybe there's something, but we just a revolution.
Alfonso and I, right here,
we're manifesting a revolution.
We're manifesting.
But no, like going back to the perks of living on your own and living at home, like it's definitely like whatever you're willing to sacrifice, you know. And I think, and I think I'm at the end of willing to sacrifice
you're like,
my freedom and privacy. So now I'm literally living my best life this year because I know next year when I move out, I'm going to have a shit ton of bills too. So I wouldn't be able to like recklessly like just book a flight and like go to whatever place because I'm definitely going to have to be more cautious with budgeting and stuff like that.
But you'll get the hang of it. I'm still learning, and I've been doing this for 6 years now. And yeah, you live and you learn, honestly.
You too.
But good for you. I can't wait to see when that happens. Like, I'll be there every step of the way to guide you if you need any guidance.
I would definitely ask you where you got your very aesthetically pleasing furniture.
Oof.
And decks.
Expensive, but well worth it, honestly.
You mentioned networking.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, there's so much I could talk about with networking, and feel free to jump in and tell me your like side of things and how you feel that. But I consider myself, and if you know me, you know that I'm like an ambivert is what we called it last episode. I'm very much like somebody who can certainly be an introverted person if I wanted to. But I would say that I'm like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm on a 7 of being extroverted, and that has given me a lot of great opportunities, I would say, in my life. Not that being introverted won't give you opportunities, but networking was one of the biggest ones. Like I said, being a CCTV, obviously showing interest, and I stress this to my students all the time, like, if you're interested in something, show interest. People will remember you. Even if, you know, you may not think that you're that important in the moment, people will remember you and they will vouch for you. And if you're just like being unapologetically you, people see that, you know, take it from me. Last week I gave I was the reference for 2 former students that I had. For one, they never told me that they put me down as a reference. It was a little bit of a shock when I got the calls, but you know, it was people who I had worked with many years ago. But I remembered them instantly because they had an impact in my life. Right. You know? So yeah, that's pretty much like networking 101 is
it's important.
Making an impact, showing interest, and just being yourself.
Right. And I think the key is genuine networking and like genuinely wanting to build those relationships.
Yeah. And if it don't feel right, it don't feel right. Don't do it, you know? Like, don't force networking. Because, I mean, I don't think I've ever done it fully or intentionally, but I know people who have. And definitely. People can tell, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I'm the opposite. I'm introverted, and I can be shy most of the times. But I think if I need to, like, put myself out there, I would. Like, I will. But in general, the idea of networking, especially in the entertainment industry, in the film industry, it's like you have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to build these connections. You
Yes.
have to know, unfortunately, you have to know people in order to kind of like
Get your way.
like enter the industry,
Yeah, yeah.
basically. And I've had a hard time with that. Like, I've had a hard time putting
What?
myself out there, because it's like, again, like you said, like, you can't fake it. You have to be genuine.
Mm-hmm. And
So
if
I'm
it feels
still-
forced, it's like,
Right. Like, I feel like whenever I try, I feel like I'm forcing it, you know. I feel like I
Mhm.
always have a motive behind wanting to connect,
yeah.
but you just really need to like build a genuine relationship
Mhm.
before you even try and, you know, connect and like try and get something out of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to go back into like the industry that we're in, like, well, I guess different industries,
Mhm.
but the artistic
Right.
umbrella of industries, I guess, is
Right.
what I'm trying to say. You know, this idea that you need to know somebody in order to get somewhere, I really hate
Mhm.
that. But
yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's a lot of times it is that way,
Uh-huh.
you know, especially when we're talking about LA and New York
Mhm.
and those big cities that
Yeah.
are known for this. Like, you
But-
can't.
You know, yeah, I also believe that it's definitely not 100% of the time.
Yeah, sure.
People still definitely make it on their own, and, you know, their own, with their circle of
Of course.
people,
Yeah.
their own like network, without having to use other networks.
Yeah.
But it's tricky. Networking is tricky.
Yeah.
GBH.
I will say one quick thing. I had a dream job right after college. Well, actually, let me go back,
Mhm.
rewind. I didn't know what I wanted to do after college. Like, I had this
Mhm.
degree in photography now, which sounded great at the time that I was like doing it.
Right.
But when you tell, you know, the world, oh, I have a degree in photography,
Uh-huh.
they a lot of times, like, and this has happened to me, they will either laugh or, you know, or not understand,
That's
like,
so shitty.
what about photography? That's a hobby.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so I was very much in that situation where I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember I had this dear professor. Her name is Katia Landeros, and I'm sharing her name because you guys should definitely check out her work. She's an amazing photographer, amazing educator, amazing person in general. She was very much like a mentor to me. I
Mhm.
was her TA for a while and took a few of her classes.
Yeah.
And she would always have this conversation with me, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like, I really want to help
Right.
you. And so that relates back to networking. Because I had told her, like, I guess I'm interested in working in a magazine and, like, maybe doing, like, photo editing.
Yeah. I can totally see you at a magazine.
Yeah, like I
paper magazine.
I still want to do that. Yeah, and
definitely do it.
yeah. And what was I saying about Katia? Oh yeah, so she this was a conversation that we had like months before I
Uh-huh.
graduated, and she definitely did not forget that because I think it was June of 2020. She called me one day randomly, and I was like, "Why are you calling me, Katia? Like, I graduated. This is weird." Sorry, Katia. It's not weird. We're still friends. But I remember she called me and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I have the perfect job for you. Like, you have to apply. Please, like, I'll write a recommendation for you." It was at the National Geographic.
Oh, I remember this.
Yes, it was literally my dream job, you guys. Dream job in the sense of like working in the magazine and like in the area that I wanted to be in. They weren't necessarily like doing the things that I was interested in, like fashion and like
more like
commercial work.
animals
Yeah, it's
and
more like
mountains.
animal vibes. It's given very much, you know, environment,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Like,
She said,
hey, National Geographic, if you're listening, I would still
Oh
take that
my
job.
God.
I would definitely take the job.
no,
Please.
Yanka is great. You
Yeah.
do not know what you're missing out on.
Whoever said that, it wasn't me. It was somebody took over, you know. Anyways.
She said animal vibe.
It's
Oh my
giving
God.
very much humanitarian.
Comment your favorite animal at the end of this app if you got this
Please.
far.
Yes, in any platform that we stream this at. Let me rewind.
National
Okay.
Geographic.
Yes, and they reached out to her personally and said, if you have anybody in mind who will be good for this job, send them to me, and they will already be at the top of my list. It was literally like, and she thought of me out of all hundreds of students that she had. So I was very honored. And I went into a couple of interviews, or one interview, sorry. And they decided to go with someone else, but solely because I didn't have enough experience. And that's another thing that we can talk about.
Oh my
like
God.
This
requiring
concept,
like 3 to 5 years of experience.
straight out of school. Like
literally, I can't even.
It blows my mind that companies are still stuck in this mindset. And I read something on LinkedIn last week that very much like described this anger that I have towards companies that still do that. Anyway, I didn't get the job, but all of this to say that now, not only did I make a good impression on National Geographic, because the hiring manager, I think, really liked me, and we like bonded a genuine connection. Yeah. Is that what I'm trying to say? We bonded a genuine connection. But now, you know, other people at National Geographic know my name, and like I happen to have a pretty unique name, so maybe they'll remember me in years from now if I decide to reapply.
No, yeah. Like if you reapply and they remember you, they'll see that you really want to be there. After all these years, you're still thinking about them. That's another thing.
Like people think that if you don't land a job and you get, I guess, rejected
it's
from a job,
not your time, you know?
It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. And if you keep trying, that shows that you're really serious about this and that you want to be in the company. But yeah, and then that also made a great impression on my professor, who now is still looking out for things for me to do.
That's sweet.
Because she knows that I was serious about that, and I put all of my effort into this. So yeah, that's my networking 101 lesson, is that just do it. You know, if people are telling you to do things, obviously if it feels right, but if they're thinking of you and they're willing to write that recommendation, just take it and just do it. There's nothing you're gonna lose from just trying your best. And actually, funny enough, I had my interview right here in this room.
Oh wow.
Yeah, for National Geographic. I need a quiet space, and it was over Zoom. So yeah, just brought me back.
I think my last statement about networking is build that genuine relationship first. You know, don't ask for a favor straight away.
No,
unless
never.
You already have a relationship with them. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, every networking opportunity that I had was never asked. It was just like what I mentioned, like somebody thought of me.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it. Like I have students now, and I do the same thing. It's like a paying it forward type of situation. But
going back to, you mentioned something about not knowing what to do after college. For me, I also sort of didn't know what to do after college. Well, I know what I wanted to do, and you know this, like I just want to tell stories. Like I'm a writer. I've been writing screenplays and like novels. But the big question for me is like, how? Like, because there's no clear path for like writers like myself.
Yeah, I can
you know
imagine.
What I mean? You just gotta keep writing and writing and writing until one of them like sticks to the wall, or whatever that phrase is. Like you just gotta keep writing until one of them gets picked up.
That's right.
And I had a hard time grasping that right after graduating, because I was like so pressured into moving immediately to like LA or New York, because that's where, the industry is.
Right.
But somehow I convinced myself to like, you know what, you're in your early 20s, just lay low, keep writing, because that's what I want to do. Be a writer. So I'm still working on that. I'm still writing, even though I'm in Boston, So it's basically what I'm saying is don't rush.
Never.
You don't rush it. I mean, people do rush it sometimes and it works for them. But for those doubting and questioning the process, no need to rush. Like, do what you think is best for you at the moment.
In the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the pandemic definitely taught us that, I think, or at least myself, like that rushing doesn't take you anywhere. Like, we're stuck at home.
Right.
Trying to figure life out, I guess, and picking up new hobbies. And, I know a handful of people who, now I'm getting into pandemic, but who found their passion in the pandemic, and because they didn't rush.
That's
I mean,
true.
they didn't even have the opportunity to rush because we're stuck inside.
Yeah.
But to dial back. You were saying not rushing things.
Not rushing things. Just take your time.
Yeah.
You know?
I could say something about that too, because when I graduated college, this is gonna sound bad, and if my boss is listening, you did not listen. I didn't want to come back to CCTV. That was like one of my goals, was to not come back to CCTV.
Because you've been here for
exactly
years.
Yeah, not because I don't love the place.
Yeah.
Trust me, this is like a second home to me. Sometimes my home, honestly.
An amazing place.
But I didn't want to, that was like a goal that I had within myself. Like, don't come back to CCTV. You're going to get comfortable. You're going to get stuck. And I had a great boss at the time who told me that she was willing to make a position just for me. If it meant that I would stay, which is like, again, another thing about networking and like really being authentic and being you. Like, people will like that. But anyway, I got another job. I guess my goal was accomplished in the sense that I didn't come back to CCTV. I did that summer program that I was talking about. But after that, I got a job at Artists for Humanity through connections again, networking. I knew the person who offered the job. And he talked to another boss, and another boss liked me. So that's how it started. And I was there for 7 months. And I still with that mentality that I didn't want to come back to CCTV full time. I was doing some front desk work. That was part of my 5 jobs at the time. But it felt right. Like, again, I'll get into trauma and other things that I went through at my other job, but I was not in a great place mentally there. And so as much as I guess in my mind didn't want to come back to CCTV, it felt right in the moment. And I came back, and I've been the happiest I've ever been ever since. And I guess I didn't rush. I don't know if I'm making sense bouncing off of where you're saying, but I didn't rush to come back and start this job just to have a job. I tried other jobs, and you
tried other roles.
Yeah,
before.
And I was struggling a little bit financially, juggling 5 jobs, but it felt whenever I knew that I would settle and when things felt right, which it did a year ago, February of last year, that's when I came back. And I guess there's a lesson there about connecting it back to going back home to you. That's how it felt coming back here to me.
It's your second
at
home.
First it felt weird and not right, but you do things that feel right in the moment. And I'm happy to say that it's been the best decision I've ever made, professionally and mentally, because now I'm in a much better place.
I struggled in the first year of working here mentally, because I had a feeling am I being left behind by my peers? Should I pick up my stuff and just go and risk it? But then I just learned to love where I am, and I just learned to realize the fact that we're literally still in our 20s.
That's right.
It's we're literally still in our 20s. We're still navigating life. We're still asking the big questions of what do we really want to do? How should I do it? Where should I go? What should I do? There's so many.
It's a constant thing. But
and it's not going to stop in our 20s.
No.
It's going to be in 30s, 40s, whatever.
Yeah.
So at first, I guess in short, at first I was I'm just doing this to get the experience and then move out, save money. But now I learned to love it. Yeah. And I just,
It's about I tweeted this the other day, romanticizing the little things and the moment that you're living in now is really important. I'm learning to do that now with my current life and lifestyle. It's about the little things. Don't rush, going back to rushing, don't rush into things. Don't overthink.
I put that as a caption too. Celebrating small wins and big wins. No, but it's true.
But it's really
we need to
learn
to celebrate the big wins and big things.
But anyway,
it's a lot.
I guess a little secret here is that Alfonso and I actually recorded this episode already, but we are re-recording.
We were
now.
literally stumbling
Yeah,
at the
just
first
like
recording.
not going straight to the point.
Yeah, it was just, we were a mess. Just like life after college.
But anyway, I mentioned in the previous recording that will never be released into the world, that imposter syndrome is something that everybody, I think, goes through, unless you're like a narcissist and you think you're the best ever, which I hope those people don't exist, although I know a couple. Anyway, I know I'm like letting some feelings out right now.
At them.
I would, but
JK. Go ahead.
Imposter syndrome. So it's something that if you're going through it, or if you think that it's starting to catch up on you, it's okay. Like, it's something that I went through. I don't know if Alfonso, you can relate to this, but I'll give, I guess, the quick description of what imposter syndrome is according to the internet. Imposter syndrome is loosely defined as doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. It disproportionately affects high-achieving people who find it difficult to accept their accomplishments. So it's like questioning everything that you're doing. Am I doing it right? Am I deserving of this? Like, should I even be here? And this is something that I'm still learning to manage. It's definitely gotten better because I'm in a much healthier work environment. But it's something that I think everybody in their 20s will go through at some point, in 30s and so on. You know, you kind of, like I said, learn to manage it. Right. But if anyone listening, if you're going through this, first of all, hit my line, because we can definitely have a great discussion about how to, like, soothe, I guess. Is that what I'm trying to say? Like, these feelings.
Sort through the feelings? Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh my God, English.
Me too.
Like, make it
make sense, or like
make it less worse.
Yeah.
Anyways, the English language always amazes me.
English is our second language. So
yes.
I am bilingual. You're trilingual.
Yeah. But
so
English is my second
language. We don't
language.
need to be sorry. Yeah. If you don't get it,
see,
you don't
okay.
get it. The girls that get it, get it.
Wait, but that was a great example of imposter syndrome, sort of, like, not officially, but me doubting myself like, and I do this all the time. I mean, with several things in my life, but doubting myself and like, you know, I need to have an approval or somebody like kind of, I guess, approving what I'm saying in order to feel like accomplished. But anyway, imposter syndrome is something that lives in your mind. Don't let it affect you. You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing amazing, sweetie. And yeah, we're in this together. If you're suffering through that, again, hit us up. Alfonso, how do you feel? Thank you
for bringing that up. Yeah. For me, it goes in and out for me. Like, it doesn't, when I feel it, it doesn't stay for long. Yeah.
One thing I noticed about you is that you're like, and maybe this is an outsider's perspective, even though we're really close.
Spill the tea.
You're actually really rude. I'm joking.
I am.
You're pretty confident. Like,
really?
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's how I see you. Alfonso and I have staff meetings with our staff every week, and I always feel like I'm totally out of it in staff meetings, and I'm just like rambling.
Well, that's crazy, because I think the opposite
of me.
Yeah, I think you're like, you got it together.
See, imposter syndrome. Boom.
And then I don't have it together. But
okay,
since you see me as confident, like,
that's another thing about like how we see ourselves. The thing, I guess what I'm trying to say is you go straight to the point, and you're very like clear with your sentences and what you're trying to get across, your ideas and thoughts and whatnot. Where I like, you know, I ramble and then I go here and then I go there, and as many lists as I have, which is something that I'm known for. Right. I still like kind of go all over the place, and I have a lot of anxiety when I'm talking, or I can have it sometimes. But yeah, you like present yourself really well to the world. And maybe that helps you with that imposter syndrome factor, I think. I
think so. I feel like I have a switch, you know, when it's time for like to be professional or whatever, I just switch that button.
You do.
And then when I don't have to, I switch it off and I'm just me.
It's so interesting working with your close friends too, because I noticed that on you, like that switch, you know, and that's a good thing. Like you should be proud of yourself for being able to do that, because another.
I guess. Celebrating small wins.
Celebrating small wins, yes. Anyway, that's that on imposter syndrome. We can talk about something else.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've covered everything I wanted to talk about life after college. I talked about moving back home, the perks of that and the cons. I talked about what I wanted to do or what I didn't know what to do after college. What else can we talk about? I'm
glancing at my notes right now, and as personal notes, something that I struggled with, and I'm interested to hear if you did too, is like struggling to get out of this like student academia mentality. Like somebody, I'm not gonna say who, criticized me on that actually once. They said like, you're still stuck on this like mindset.
What does that mean?
That like, you know, you need to do things a certain way, and you have to please people in a certain way, and you're getting graded on things, and like that's not necessarily how life after college works. So I just recently started like letting go of that, and really like trusting myself as a professional and as an adult, really, for that matter. And I don't know, like deadlines is a thing that I struggle with, and that still like happens in the in the workspace. But I think I'm traumatized by academia, honestly, because it made me like, I don't know, feel like a robot almost. Like, you know, you have to do this thing, and then you have to go to each class, and then you have to like turn this in by this time, and then like your whole life, surrounded by grades and this idea that you need to be an A student or whatever. I don't know what my point really is here, but if anyone listening relates to what I'm saying, you get it. Like I'm still struggling to get out of that mentality.
I think for me, I was always a procrastinator in school anyway. So I like those deadlines, like I would, I don't know. Like, it was just not, I wasn't too organized when it comes to schoolwork. I still get it done, you know. I graduated with 3.8 GPA. That's high, out of the 4.0 scale.
That's great.
But yeah, I was a procrastinator, and I just, for me, the way I look at it, deadlines and due dates, they are all constructs.
Wow. Okay. We're getting
That's
deep.
just how maybe it's not, but that's how I look at it. Like,
I laughed, but it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a thing or two to say about testing and like standardizing testing. Like, I hate the idea that we have to prove that we're good enough for this one thing. Like, we can pass this SAT or whatever. Not pass, but, you know, get a good score.
Like a certain score.
To be, you know, admitted into this school.
I mean, some colleges are scrapping those, you know.
Yeah. Well, in general, I think SAT is like slowly dying. Which, good for you kids in the future. I wish that was me back in the day. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring that out. We don't have to like talk too much about it, but yeah, school mentality. It's hard to like get out of that, I think, a little bit. Yeah,
I definitely see what you're saying, but I don't think if I'm experiencing that, because I cared about school. I loved school, but I wasn't too serious when it comes to like the structure of the school.
Yeah. But that's good.
Of education in general.
I like wish I was more like that. I think, as you know, we're co-workers now, I'm very much like list based, and like I like being organized. So that
makes sense.
In school I definitely like, I wasn't like an A+ student all the time. I mean, I went to art school, for God's sake. If I wasn't all A+ student, I would have probably chosen another career path. But then I have something to say about that, because really you should be following your passion. But anywho, I always like
we both followed our passion.
Yeah, I was really strict with grades and like getting things done, and I was always that person who would help people, or
Yeah.
I guess ask for help too, but give people homework and whatever.
Well, I
but-
guess like the main takeaways of this conversation about life after college, like I think what I learned, this is kind of like a self-reflection for me, but definitely life after college, you don't have to rush it.
Yeah.
We're so young. Everyone is still figuring it out. We're still trying to navigate this life. Ask all the big questions. Like,
yes.
There's a lot of questions that we're asking, right?
Yeah, and we're like living in a ever-changing world. Like, there's always gonna be a new thing. There's always gonna be like the cool thing. You can't try to rush to get to those things, because I mean, you just overwhelm yourself, and it will become like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like trying to think of a fancy word, but I'm not going there. So yeah, like a robot. Have these questions,
Yeah. So yeah, I guess life after college, we have a lot of questions, big questions, but just have fun. Take your time.
Yeah,
it's okay.
What's yours will come to you, as cliche as that sounds.
Do whatever you need to do.
Yes, and you find people along the way, like I found Afonso.
Yeah.
And you relate to each other, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
But cool. All right. Well, see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening.
We're going to be back next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We'll think about a topic, but thank you for listening.
If anyone has any topics in mind, let us know.
Yes.
But really happy to be here, and yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Adios.
What's up, 20s?
Bye.